All right, welcome back, everyone. We're going to be now going over some examples on the chart. So let's get to it. So, like we know, the market is fractal, and these patterns repeat on every time frame. It's a never-ending cycle of pattern within pattern. In other words, structure within structure, right? So let's look at some examples here. See what we can find. So we see here. So we have a sweep of that low, and then we have a break, right? Now, remember, right now, your focus is not to understand the pattern. It's simply just to understand the fractal nature of the market, right? Which is structure in this case. That's all. I want you just to understand how fractal the market is in structure. Okay. So the pattern that we're looking for is this. This is the best example that we can use that you guys will be able to understand and see much more easier than any other example. So that's a pattern that we're using, right? So here it is. It's right here. Okay. So the low broke structure. So we see this on the 15-minute time frame, right? Now, if we zoom in, we can see the same pattern right here. The same pattern is right there. Now notice they're not the same size or shape or form, but it's the same pattern. Now, this looks very small on the 15-minute, but what's going to happen once we go to the 5-minute or the 1-minute? It's going to look big, right? So this is what I mean by trade what you see and not what you think. You need to trade what's obvious, what makes sense to you. Right? As a trader, you have to trade something that makes sense to you. And because the market is fractal, there's going to be times that we're not going to see the small little details. Right? There's going to be times that we might not understand something because maybe we're on the wrong time frame. Maybe we got to go lower or higher because the market is fractal and you have to accept that. You're not going to find everything on one time frame or two time frames. You need multiple time frames in order to put everything together. It's important that you understand this, right? So let's drop down to a lower time frame. So we're in the 5-minute here. Notice how it looks bigger on the 5-minute. It looks just much more clear. It wasn't as clear on the 15-minute time frame, but here it looks very obvious. So what's going to happen if we go down to the 1-minute? Yes. It looks way bigger now, don't it? Now remember, there is patterns within patterns, or in other words, structure within structure, right? So if we look closely, we see the same pattern right here. Run of liquidity. And now we have, let's say, a structure break right here. It's the same pattern inside of a bigger pattern. Do you see that? Fractal, right? Now, if we go down to the seconds time frame, you're gonna see a seconds time frame pattern inside the 1-minute, inside the 5-minute, which is inside the 15, inside the 14, or not the 14, the 1 hour, and so on, right? So there's pattern within patterns. It's a never-ending cycle. So now that you see that, now let's go over another example. We're going to be looking now for a strong high. Let's see if you're able to identify those. So we're looking for this. We're looking for this. Okay. So I already see here. So we took out liquidity and the structure broke, right? That's a strong high. We're on the 15-minute time frame. And that's how it looks on the 15-minute time frames. It's not so clear, is it? But again, what's going to happen if we go down to the 5-minute, to the 1-minute? It's going to be much more clear. It's going to be way more obvious, right? Now here we have another strong high. Right? Notice the differences. They're not the same. They don't look the same. They're not textbook. They're not picture perfect because that's not how the market is. But again, it's the same pattern, same structure, format, right? So again, trade what you see and what makes sense to you and what you understand. And you're going to hear me say this throughout the course a lot because it's very important you understand this as a trader. Don't trade something that's not making sense to you. It doesn't make no sense to trade it. Why would you trade it? It doesn't make no sense, right? But it is it for now, guys. This is an example of a strong high and strong low covering the fractal nature of structure on the charts. It's pretty straightforward, right? You notice how there was a pattern within a pattern and so on. So that's it for now. On to the next one.